All right, welcome back. As we told you in the intro, a star-studded field today as we pay tribute once again to Coach Buddy Marcello. And, you know, he had a lot of talent when he was at St. Francis. But when he got to South Terrebonne, whew, he was loaded. And we have a lot of those in the studio today. We're going to start by just getting them to tell you their name and the year they attended South Terrebonne, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of why we're here today. So we'll start off with Clarence Verdan.
Yeah, Clarence Verdan. I attended South Terrebonne from '77 to 1980. Went on to USL, Southwest Louisiana.
Herman Vernon, played from '71 to '73, graduated. Went on to college, 3-time All-American college, ran the U.S. track team, and I think a lot to do with being coached by Coach Marcello. The spirit carried on.
Daniel Henry from '71 to '73, played football and ran track at South Terrebonne.
All right, Skippy Ezel, graduated in '77, one of Buddy Marcello's quarterback, and went on to Grambling State University.
Ricky Britt was at South Terrebonne from '71 to '73. Played football and track under Buddy, Coach Buddy.
All right, well, let's start with you, Ricky, because glad to have you here because we're going to talk about that famous relay team. You and Herman in the house today, and, of course, had Robert Lagarde and Melvin Johnson had the fastest time in the nation. Of course, your relay team had the fastest time in the nation. But I want to start with you. Let's go back and just Buddy Marcello had this knack for getting the most out of his players. Of course, at South Terrebonne, you were loaded with a lot of speed and a lot of talent, which is indicative in this room today. But what was it about Coach Marcello that got y'all to just keep on churning out and just making yourself better?
That's tough to put it down in just a couple of sentences, but Coach Marcello, he spoke to you, you know, like you were a man. He spoke to you man to man. He didn't sugarcoat it, try to talk soft to you or anything. Coach Marcello just had a way of being able to communicate with you, and you knew he was a father figure, obviously, because of his age and his appearance, and you felt like it was your father speaking to you. He was also the one encouraging you and the one holding you with a lot of high expectations. And, you know, I think across the board there was, he was one of the most admired coaches that I'd ever been around. And you mentioned speed earlier. When we were in the playoffs our senior year, we really thought we were going to just march all the way and win it all. And we had a really good team, but we were very small compared to the rest of the teams in the state. And Charlie Brown, the legendary coach from Monroe, from Neville, you know, he said it came down to 4 teams, and he says, you know, he said that team from down in Berg, Louisiana, he said that's the fastest high school group of kids I've ever seen in my life. So that was, you know, we were part of Buddy's stable, if you would.
Let me keep the mic with you because I don't know, was it your senior year that y'all had the fastest relay team in the nation?
Well, that's what we've heard. There's been some people that's, you know, have said, no, y'all weren't the national champs or had the best, fastest times in the nation. But, you know, Coach Taylor, it wasn't long after that, we were still in school, and when Coach Taylor mentioned to us that, you know, do y'all realize y'all set a national high school record? And he talked about how many tenths difference there were between us and the LSU SEC team that year. And so a lot of us have just gone on and said, sure, yeah, we set a national high school record. Can I show it to you? No, I can't. Did we do it? I'm not sure, but we were the fastest in the state of Louisiana.
Was it both 440 and 880? Which one?
440. We didn't have great exchanges on the 880. The 440, I'm sorry, we didn't have great exchanges on the 440. We had it on the 880. And we did, I think we were told that we tied the national record in the 880. But the 440, it wasn't a lot of great handoffs. We were so concerned with getting the baton around that we just wanted to make sure we knew that we were going to outrun everybody.
Just don't drop it.
Just don't drop it, because we did drop it our junior year.
Right.
And we could have been a 2-time state champion if had we not dropped it, but
Who had first leg?
I did.
Okay, second,
Second was Herman.
Herman, 2 guys, and then
And
third
then
was Robert.
Robert, and then we
Melvin
knew
brought
if we
it
got
on.
in Melvin's hands, it was over. We just started celebrating.
If
you know.
if Melvin's, or if any opponent, did any opponent ever have a lead when it got to Melvin? I would doubt it, huh?
I'll let Herman answer that, but I don't recall.
Yeah, about to say, so.
Some of the other track clubs got smart about it. They knew how good we were, so what they did instead, they knew their anchor guy was not going to outrun Melvin, so they put him up against me. They had them busting the blocks.
So
it really,
so what was that theory? At least lead on the first lap?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that didn't work out too. You were pretty fast yourself. You know. Let's pass the mic to Skippy. And I've been knowing Skippy for a long time. I've also had Skippy on our one-on-one program, and I remember when it was coming down to Vanderbilt or South Terrebonne. Seems to me from everything I heard, and I know Herman's in here today, you had a lot of your partners from the neighborhood telling you got to stay at South Terrebonne, but fortunately for you, you played for a guy named Buddy Marcello. Talk about that relationship.
Well, you know, Martin, when I was a youngster coming in the parish, TPR, Coach Marcello used to always follow me. You know, he heard about me. He was doing the baseball fields, as we know, and he always had an eye on. We used to play our games on the air base, and he would so-called do the fields and keep an eye on the talent that they had out there. You know, and every time we got ready to play, the Tigers I was on from Honduras. And he would always be there to watch the talent, because he'd know what he's going to be getting, you know, after Oaklawn, and then they come into South Terrebonne type thing. So we used to talk a little bit, but not much. He never say too much to me. He was watching, observing. And when I went to Oaklawn, that's when he put some things into play for me, you know, because he was ready for me, you know. Verdan next door here, you know, he and Melvin and all the guys, you know, they was trying to help me excel a little faster, you know, like in 8th grade, to go to South Terrebonne at an early age, but it worked out in 9th grade. He saw some things in me that he couldn't wait to get me over there to really mature me and, you know, be a part of the South Terrebonne Gators.
And we'll come back. I might have plenty more questions. I want to get to Danny Henry, because in that 2004 interview that I did with Coach Marcello, he was talking about that track championship in '73. And then he goes, you know, and as a matter of fact, we had a pole vaulter. Danny Henry got me some points, or got points for South Terrebonne in that track meet. So he was always proud of. He talked about the relay team, and he talked about you in the pole vault. His memory was unbelievable, and his recall was unbelievable.
It's always been like that with Coach Buddy. But I tell you what, you know what you say about pole vaulting? Ricky made a comment the other day that can you believe that guy was on a pole as big as I am now? But to be honest with you, what you're saying, I'll never forget, we had Coach Adams was our coach, Taylor, was more or less for the runners, and Adams was the field coach. And we were in a meeting before we were going to the state championship, and they had 6 guys that had made it to state. And the year before, I think they had 36 points. And he figured 12 with the full 40, 12 with the 880. And he says, then we're going to go ahead and win the 100 with Melvin and win the 220 with Melvin. And he figured 36 points that way. And he says, we need one more point because that 37th point's going to win it. Well, come to find out, we didn't need the 37th point, okay? But we ended up winning state. I never forget that night. I remember us running backwards at LSU, you know, and first time I'd ever been on a grass tech track, rubberized. I was just impressed to be there, to tell you the truth. But yeah, and Buddy, you know, he was excited. I was South Terrebonne's first state championship.
Yep, unbelievable. I want to pass the mic to Herman Vernon, who was on that 440 team and that 880 team. And you've heard me say it so many times on HTV, even when Coach Marcello was doing the one-on-one with me, and he started naming the names, and he got caught up a little bit, I was able to help him because I've heard about this team so many times. And Herman Vernon is our next guest. How was it being on a team with Coach Marcello, who was a pretty brilliant offensive mind, but I guess we sort of jealous at Vanderbilt down the road because we didn't have that kind of speed. I don't remember anybody really being that fast on our team, a bunch of overachievers. But down the road in Berg, we're betting each other after practice to race each other, and still at lunch today, Clarence is still talking about racing Troy. And even to this day, it just transcends everything else. But that much speed on one team, talk about that.
It's crazy. Like Ricky said, Ricky and I was together first. We met at Oakland. I've been on Ricky 50 years. And we were the two fastest, Ricky said, and I comment. He seen me in the comment. He know him and I was fast. But till Melvin came, it's a whole different ball game. Never seen nobody like him. And we was always tell Ricky, just get the stick to Herman. We're going to make it happen. And I'll see that white hair coming out. It's on now. It's on. It's showtime. But Coach Marcello was involved with everything, the baseball, the football team, the track team. And he told us, I was senior year in high school, said, if y'all win state, y'all get a steak dinner. Well, back in '73, eating a steak was pretty good. So we didn't fail. We ate that steak. And Coach Marcello, man, I just can't explain. He was like a dad. Never was laid back, didn't holler, he walked around, smoked a lot of cigarettes. I never seen him with them black glasses off either. Never seen his eyes.
That was his trademark.
That was his trade. He never took those glasses off. And, man, I can't see it. It's a shock to me. I called Ricky on Sunday. Clarence called me Sunday. And when he got the news, and I called Ricky, man, and wow, it's a shock.
Yeah, no
really
doubt.
It was a shock to me.
I want to get to Clarence because
I ain't say too
Clarence
much.
at lunch today, we talking and a bell went off in your head because when I told you that Coach Marcello
Never knew
not
that.
only was a good high school athlete, but when he went to Lafayette and played at, I forget what it was called back then, but of course it became USL eventually.
Right.
But you didn't realize the connection there because he played quarterback and he played first base, and then you had all these scouts and all these coaches coming in.
Right, I wrote letters. Me and my sister, late sister-in-law, wrote letters to all the schools in the country, man. Like you say, Michigan, LSU, Grambling. I mean, I wrote them to everybody. Never thought I got a call out of class, and first I thought they were sending me to the office because I was cheating on one of the tests. so it's like, man, you got to go to Buddy office. I'm like, oh no, because you disappoint Buddy, man. That's the lowest. You don't do that. And I didn't know why. They called me to go to his office. So that was a long walk from where the classrooms were to that athletic department back there in that back building. And when I walked in there and I saw a window, he had a window that you can look into the office, and I saw a guy with a USL shirt on. And man, I walked in there, and he introduced me to Coach Lockwood. And he looked at me like he saw a stranger. But make a long story short, now I thought it was me and my sister-in-law, but now since y'all said it, I see why USL came to the school. It was because of Coach Marcello's, man. And man, it really, when you told me that Eden, man, it kind of, if I'd have known that, and he never mentioned it, I never knew he even went to that school. Never mentioned it, man. I come back, he never, and that's how humble he was, man. I mean, he probably could have told me, hey, man, I, talked to somebody, or I went to UL. Never mentioned, everything when he talked to us, man, especially to me, it's about being a man, doing the right thing, working hard, and like I say, he never was a coach, man, to scream or degrade you. I done been around a lot of coaches, and I had a coach in the NFL, I had to go to his room 3 o'clock in the morning and tell him, man, don't ever talk to me like that on the field. Curse me out that bad till my kids stopped respecting me at the house after the game. I'm just real talk. I mean, that's how you get to that level. And he never treated everybody with respect, man, and treated Skippy with a little bit more respect. But the relationship they had, you wanted to have that relationship with Buddy when Skippy left.
Right.
I mean, because, man, he just, man, anything you need, I mean, he was there for you, academic, he was there for you. And like you say, man, he's going to be truly missed. And I'm right now petitioning for a monument of him, man, because I don't think there's a coach in Homer that I know of did the things that he did. And just not just as a coach, but as a person with his athletes, man. And like I say, man, I pray for the family. And 95 years old, you never thought, and it's just crazy to say, because you know you live to die, man, not Coach Marcello. So when you told me, I'm like, I can't see him.
Right.
I can't see that with him. You know, you think he lived forever, man, but his spirit will, and his name gonna keep ringing, man. And like I say, the family, man, I give my condolences to him. And like I say, now I know, you know, I always thanked him, you know, but now, man, because, man, I guess that's God, man, for y'all to tell me that, bro. And it kind of choked me up now.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, because, you know, me and Skippy have had this conversation before, and at lunch today I was telling you guys, there was racial tension back in those days when Coach Marcello went to South Terrebonne. But if you look at Coach Marcello and you see the way he treated people, you would never know it with Coach Marcello, would you?
You didn't see, and it's hard. It ain't hard to see. He just said you didn't. I mean, he was like an angel, man. You know, you trusted him, and it's like, you know, you do your parents. You know, you get good coach, bad coach. The other coaches did all the hollering and screaming, but man, he was. He just never. Everybody was the same, man. And that was real talk, man. You know, and you enjoy going to practice. You know, and we all know we had tour days. You know, we didn't have a car like Skippy, but you know, we had to sleep in the gym, man. I mean, I'm sorry, bro. I don't know where you get that car from and where your dad get that Cadillac from.
Skippy, I'm gonna take up for you. Skippy had an old Maverick back then. Was it the Maverick back then?
That ain't the one he had at his house, that Trans Am. Skip took a pay cut when he started working. You didn't even think of that, man. You know, the football team and the track team, sports, man, Coach Adam, Coach Taylor, man, those guys, man, you know, you trusted them. And you told them all your stories, and they knew your family. They knew everything about you, man. You know, I had an incident in high school where a young lady got pregnant. Coach Marcello and Coach Taylor and Coach Adam and told them, you know. Her dad threatened my life. You know, that's what I heard. Some guys that told me at Terrebonne, like, man, her dad gonna come to the game. And I went to them, man, and told them. And they'll forget, man. And they, you know, and they just told me, hey, man, we're gonna tell you, you know, when it happened, man, just take care of your responsibility. But you're gonna get your education, you know.
Yeah.
And
be a man.
Be a man, you know. And then you know we all entitled to mistakes, and never forget. I thought he was gonna kick me off the team because you know that was, man. You have a kid in high school, and that was like a cardinal sin. And they embraced me, man. They knew before my parents knew. They knew before my parents knew.
Wow.
That was my child, man. And Coach Taylor, Coach Marcello, Coach Adam, my brother, they all knew. And that's who I trusted. And I used their guidance, man. So again, man, you know, I rest in peace for him. And I mean, he's gonna be truly missed, man. But he made an impact in my life.
Going back to those times, you know, Clarence mentioned the word trust. And trust was hard to come by because in those times, and y'all were able at South Terrebonne, Danny was talking about before, the players seemed to be doing okay together. It was outside of the players and outside into the real world where everybody was talking smack and everything else that the troubles were. But on the team, it seemed to me the blacks and whites were fine, but y'all were also looking at y'all coaches.
Right. Yes, sir.
And Coach Marcello brought in an African-American coach who wasn't doing real well at Terrebonne because of things, made him go eat at his house before he hired him, and they became pretty good friends. He sort of set the tone, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Coach Marcello, like Clarence, he was just different. You respected Coach Marcello. You know, we'll be in the weight room. When Coach Marcello walked in the weight room, it was like, hold up, it's business. And he was humble. Like I said, I never seen the guy mad. The 3 years I was at South Terrebonne, you know, I've been coached by some coaches. Hollered, screamed that. I never got that out of him. And I've been talking to guys this past couple of days, and I've been out of high school 47 years. In my 47 years out of high school, I never heard no athletes that he coached at that time say anything bad about him. Not one person, black or white. Coach Marcello was Coach Marcello. like Clarence said, you never thought, you think he'll live forever. That's Coach Marcello. You know, when I got the news Sunday, man, nah, you sure? He said, Martin just called me and said he passed. Then I called Ricky. He said, this can't be real. Not Coach Marcello. You think a guy like that will be a million years old. That's just Coach Marcello. And every time I seen, and our last time I talked with him was at the Hall of Fame in 2019. He was kind of a little distant, but he remembered me. That made me feel good. Him and his nephew was sitting at the table, and I went over and talked to him, and it really made me feel good. I told him what my name. He said, "Oh yeah, Herman," and I really felt good about that.
And it's no secret. He
Hey,
was
man,
mentally he was.
He's an icon. He was an icon.
Yeah,
He's an
declining
icon.
a little bit in the latter years, but you could always tell when you walked up he was really
Humble.
humble, but trying hard to. And once he recollected who you were,
Right.
then all those old
Those
emotions and
memories came
facts
back.
started coming.
Be over 90, man. You can.
Yeah, I
that's a
mean,
blessing, you know.
golly, I'm having trouble at 60. What
Yeah.
you talking
and
about?
I want to say also, again, I want to say condolences to the family. You got my blessings, my heart. Coach Marcello will be missed. And he needed, I'm campaigning for this, so he needed to be a monument, Coach Marcello. He history.
Yeah,
You
there's
know,
no
he
doubt.
the best of the best.
You won't get a nay vote anywhere.
No,
On that,
nowhere in
I
Terrebonne
can
Parish.
promise. We go back to Danny because Danny, you know, us guys at Vanderbilt, we always joked about it. When we had to play South Terrebonne in anything, you better bring your chin strap.
Yeah.
And you better buckle it up
Y'all
because
brought extra chin straps.
yeah, exactly.
Getting ready to kick some tail here.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, we were always joking about the fact that, okay, these guys came off the boat, so they didn't have to lift weights. They'd been lifting weights their whole life. And that was always the running joke, but it really wasn't a joke. I mean, when those kids at the time from Berg got together, and then you start going outside and you start getting guys like Skippy and all, and Skippy calls it his hood in his interview, but all his friends start coming, and then you sprinkle in the Verdan family and everybody else. That mixture became, pretty powerful. And it was just, but somebody had to reinforce that toughness mentality. And y'all say he was a quiet guy, but how did he get that point across or self-motivate y'all?
Times were so different. The morals in the world were a heck of a lot better. The work ethic was very good. And, when I listen to these guys talk, it kind of makes you smile and chuckle, but times were different. And when you say about Vanderbilt, believe me, all three of my children went to Vanderbilt. Mm-hmm. And, I'm a Vanderbilt supporter and stuff like this, but when I was at South Terrebonne, trust me, there was no Vanderbilt in my vocabulary.
Yeah, thank y'all very much.
But trust me, when we went to Terrebonne, okay,
Yeah.
and the funny thing about it, you're in your own little world, and you got to realize we had Grand Kaya, the whole Little Kaya, Pontchartrain, East Homer, and now it's been diluted. It's been diluted a couple of times as far as the different high schools. Now, we have Ellender and a couple other, like H.L. Bourgeois. But Terrebonne, we hated them. We hated them, just outright hated them, until after the game. Then we'd meet them out or shake hands with them or whatever. Mm-hmm. It was no big deal. I tell you what, when you talk about, trouble and stuff like this, there were troubles. But the discipline factor, you respected and let's not forget, Dan Landry was at South Terrebonne. Mm-hmm. Dan Landry was an enforcer. And one thing I got to give Dan, I see him walking the streets of Berg till a day. And I know this is about Coach Falgo, Coach Falgo, listen to me, Coach Marcello. But I'll tell you this, Dan was, he held everything in tight over there, okay? And but Coach Marcello was an individual. I'm gonna tell you something. Clarence went to USL. My brother played football for South Terrebonne. Mm-hmm. My brother went to USL. Right. And I'll tell you this, he had a huge influence over there. He tried to help his players get scholarships and stuff like this. When you start thinking about what the definition of a coach, you could almost put a picture of Buddy Marcello. If you had a dictionary, this is what and it was his life. But to tell you the truth, I mean, he was he was a man of the times. Mm-hmm. He was an individual, a man among men. Mm-hmm. And he picked some good coaches to coach us. We had Coach Falgo, Coach Pierce. The night I broke my leg, we were practicing, first day of school. I'll never forget, I went to the doctor said, you got a broken leg. They're taking me to Monolepra Hospital in New Orleans. And I never in my life I mean, hell, I was nothing but, 160 pounds. It's a long time ago. But anyway, I was never thinking of this. I saw Coach Pierce and Coach Buddy Marcello cry, And I tell you what, they just took it because I was working, I was trying this and trying that. But the night that I left to go to Mount Leper Hospital, they both cried. And I said, hell, my coaches are crying? A bunch of wimps, but not true. They were just feeling kind of bad for me, and that's the kind of way they looked at their players,
Yeah.
But they had a great heart.
Skippy, let's go back to, I don't know what interview I had, or it might have been your one-on-one, or it might have been Coach Marcello's, but we were talking about the amount of times that Coach Marcello stayed after practice to drive players back home or to make sure they got home, or because, and I'm not saying things were bad at their homes. I'm just saying sometimes people needed a ride. So how many times did Coach wait around to take people home and make sure they were all right?
Well, that was an everyday thing for the coaches at South Terrebonne. The coaches took pride in what they did for us, and we appreciated that. That's why we worked so hard for them, and we played and we did the things we were supposed to do. We did everything right. They did everything like they're supposed to do. Our parents trusted them for letting us stay at practice the way we did, and sometime, we would come home late, the sun be down, and half of us had to be home before the street lights come on, man. So, so we had to have, so you had to have a guardian, to bring you in, and that's what they did for us,
Let me ask Ricky, so what was a typical day? Y'all talk about Buddy Marcello being so steady as a coach and a guy. So obviously, if he was that steady, y'all probably had him figured out pretty well what his routine was. What was his routine on a daily basis?
His routine was pretty basic. His coaches, his hand-picked coaches, he didn't have to, like the guys have been saying, he didn't have to hoop and holler. He had assistants that would take care of that. But they had their responsibilities, and he never raised his voice, never hollered at any of the assistant coaches or any of the players. We're going to go out there, we're going to practice, we're going to run 8 plays, and if you run them well, we're done. And it was just his steadfastness. He was steady, rock solid. One of the things we were talking about a few minutes ago was at Melvin's induction to the Hall of Fame, the local parishes Hall of Fame last year. Mm-hmm. I ran into Coach Marcello, and he asked me, I guess he had Skippy on the brain, because he says, help me. He says, did Skippy play with y'all? I said, no, Coach, he was a couple of years after us. And he said, oh, yeah. He said, well, did you know Skippy? And I said, well, we crossed paths, but not really that well. I said, but one of the interesting things is that Skippy's son and my son were roommates at LSU.
Wow.
And he kind of, he did a snap. He said, that's a beautiful thing. He said it twice. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And, but he was just that kind of guy. I think it was Clarence that mentioned about the horn-rimmed glasses, or maybe Herman. That was his trademark,
Mm-hmm.
He had those glasses, the white cotton-top hair,
Mm-hmm.
Always drinking the milk before the game because he battled ulcers, and smoking a good bit. But he was rock solid. And I would pass by the playgrounds on a Sunday afternoon on Williams Avenue, and you were going to see Coach there, especially after a thunderstorm. And he's out there in his old Dodge white pickup truck with a shovel and a rake, and he's just going out there, nobody around, no attention. He's not working for the parish. He did it because of the love of the game and the love of the kids.
What did you do after, this is for everybody, what did you do after you left South Terrebonne? And how involved was Coach Marcello in the fact that you were able to do that?
Upon graduation, I was fortunate. I had a couple of scholarship offers, and one of them came from Ole Miss. And they came to the home airport. They picked up Ricky Lovell and myself. At that time, Ole Miss was looking for a type of back like Ricky Lovell was. Now, he was at Terrebonne. He wasn't at South Terrebonne. And the interesting thing about that is when the coach came to pick us up, it was, we found out later, he was the assistant head football coach at Ole Miss and the baseball coach. and it was him and Coach Marcello were roommates in college. So, you know, he had his roommate looking out for me, you know, for me, and at the time, and not only me, I'm sure all these guys here were also, you know, Buddy was looking to do something to be able to help them in their next careers. I wound up going to LSU, and while I was there, Coach Marcello dropped me a note, wrote me a letter, and I'm ashamed that I didn't keep it, but he wrote a letter just hoping things are going well, looking forward to opening day. And the opening day part was in 1974, we opened the season with University of Colorado. I was a freshman. I got to dress out, and I was all pumped up and excited about that. And we were playing Melvin Johnson's ball club.
Right.
And so Coach Marcello had dropped me a note that he was looking forward to opening day. And if memory serves me right, I think Melvin was the one that took the opening kickoff. And you know, I mentioned this before, but Coach McClendon asked me, he said, Britt, before the game, he says, we're going to see what you got. He says, but we hear that there's a speedster over at University of Colorado we should be concerned about. He says, he was your teammate? I said, yes, sir. And he said, well, look, we're going to let you dress out, he says, and if we're going to put you on the corner. And he says, if he gets outside the corner, are you going to catch him? I said, well, Coach, I'll do my best. And he says, he says, well, is he faster than you? I said, yeah, Coach, he is, you know. But he dropped, Coach Marcello dropped a note before that opening weekend and said how proud he was of us and looking forward to being able to try
And that's
to
a
catch the
great
game.
story. But can you imagine Coach Marcello having two of his star players, major colleges, going against each other?
Yeah.
I mean, he had to be beaming to see that.
And what I regret is, as a kid, I was dumb as they came, and it was later in life that I remembered, and it came to me what he did for this guy. You know, he humbly did it, never looked for a pat on the back. Just like when he worked the fields, he didn't do it for accolades or anything. He did it because, again, of the love of the game and the love of the kids.
Skippy, when you were starting to get noticed, when you were about 9, but when you were
Getting checks by 12.
yeah, getting checks by 12, Clarence said. Now look, just for the record, that's not true, folks. But you got to understand their relationship, these guys. But when you were starting to get noticed, and let's fast forward to your senior year. I'm sure by this point that Coach Marcello was pretty used to big-time coaches being at South Terrebonne with everybody that went before you. But when you were graduating, there was quite a bit of interest. How did he handle all that with you?
Well, he kept me in check, you know. We had a relationship that very few people would know about, you know, and you can hear they giggling about it now, but, you know, but he and I had a relationship, Martin, that, you know, that a lot of people wouldn't understand. You know, he would come to me and tell me what he want me to do. He would coach me, and I would coach them. That's how that went. Mm-hmm. And as far as the coaches that came in, he kind of led me, guided me to, according to who came in, and, you know, I had a chance to meet them in an appropriate way, but didn't interfere with what I was doing at the time, you know, if it was football, basketball, track, whatever, you know. They had to come at a certain time, they had to be out because I had to go work out, whatever I had to do. But Coach, man, you know, he gonna, getting back to why we're here, he's gonna be missed, man, you know, and when you called me the other day, man, I was kind of teared up, bro, you know, because I heard about it, but when you call, it really stuck, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And Danny called me yesterday, and I didn't receive this call, you know? because I was doing some stuff for the wife, you know. So, you know, Marcello was the type of person, he gonna say it once, he's gonna make it clear that you understand it, and he wanna see you execute it. And that's what he did with me, and that's what made me a better person, and that's why my love for him is beyond, you know.
So what was he doing as a coach? Was he going to you, making it clear what he wanted you to do? But he was giving you the chance to be the leader of the team.
Exactly right. By him telling me, he was coaching me of what he wanted to be taught on that field. You know, on the offensive side or the defensive side, but mostly offensive side. He would put in things that on the fly, you know. We was running when I first went. We ran out with Harold Moses was the running back. We ran an I. Harold left. Then we started getting guys like Clarence, you know, Troy. We had Melvin, Ronnie George. You know, we had them speedsters, man.
Right.
Put in a wishbone. I mean, wishbone, man, come on, bro. Who heard of a wishbone, bro? Huh?
Yeah. We were seeing the wishbone at Texas and Oklahoma.
Right. Yeah. He put the wishbone in. And then if somebody was injured or couldn't pick up a defense, he would go to the shotgun. I said, man, come on. I mean, he was doing things on the fly that they didn't know about, but I knew about because he had already told me about what he'll do.
Right.
So it was easy for me to tell him on how to do this.
Well, you had to own the huddle.
I had the huddle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to own the huddle. I had to own the huddle, and they had to respect me
Right.
for giving them the order because they believed in me, so they did a good job.
And Clarence respected you because he knew if he didn't, he wasn't getting the ball, right?
I tell you what, when you get his mic back to him, he's gonna tell you what I was doing. You know?
Wishbone was good.
So Danny, what as far as you know, like he was quick to tell me during that interview, and by the way, Danny Henry got me some points in the pole vault, which told me something about Coach Marcello. It was expectations. If somebody got him something, and I'm not demeaning you, that maybe they weren't expected to do, he beamed on that. It was one thing for these speedsters to be winning the 440 and the 880 relay, but for Danny Henry to go out there and get me points or the school points in the pole vault, that was big.
Well, what you're saying, yeah, and look, I'm among a group that was very elite group, okay? And I didn't get a scholarship out of college, out of high school. But one of the things I'm going to just tell you, Buddy Marcello had a lot of influence with a lot of people that didn't go to college. Right. You know, we have a little network. We talk with Ricky, and we talk. They talk every day, and I just don't do as much as they do. But to tell you the truth, Ricky Filio made some comments. You know, there's a lot of influence that happened from Buddy Marcello that didn't hit these guys. Okay, these guys. I was going to college 3.5 years at Nichols right here to be a coach. You know who kind of started me on that? Yeah. Coach Marcello. Right. I was going to minor in history, okay? All I'm trying to say is that he had such a great influence in Terrebonne Parish. It's unbelievable. You know, to hear these guys talk about him, you know, and we had some, I mean, Ricky and I, of course, we're getting old. Herman's the only old one we have. No, I'm just joking. We're all the same age. Yeah. But I'll tell you this, Buddy Marcello made a hell of an influence on Terrebonne Parish. Buddy Marcello is a better, Terrebonne Parish is a better place because Buddy Marcello was here. You know, Buddy had a lot of help. You know, we had Coach Pierce, Coach Falgu, Coach Groh, I mean, just Adams. And look, they all did a wonderful job. And that's one of the things that you have to realize. And we respected them. Our parents made us respect them. You know, I had great parents. And part of my work ethic came from that high school, you know. Mm-hmm. It came from my parents a lot also, but he had a great influence. Mm-hmm. Buddy Marcello, I'm going to tell you something that's going to be sorely missed. I really didn't realize, hell, I thought I was going to die before Buddy. 95 years old, hell, I'll sign a contract today, you know. Yeah. Hell, like you said before, 85, I'd take 85, one right now. Yeah. But anyway, he had a hell of an influence.
And I want to turn to Herman again because it seems to me he knew not what buttons to push, what buttons not to push. Because, you know, a coach's mentality is, I'm going to tweak this guy. but maybe some players didn't need tweaking. So there's a chemistry there, or you know which ones to push, you know which ones need a little extra accelerant to get them going. He was pretty good at that, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. You know, like Danny said, Coach Marcello didn't influence just South Terrebonne, the whole Terrebonne parish. He's the only coach that I think you can go back to guys my age and coming up Clarence age, no Coach Marcello. If you wasn't at South Terrebonne, you played baseball, you knew Coach Marcello. Mm-hmm. Like Ricky said, I done passed him many Sundays or Saturdays, that little truck, I said, Coach Marcello out here, and you'll see him raking by himself. And this went on for years, and I'm 66 years old. And and seeing Coach, just thinking about Coach Marcello not here, man, it's terrifying.
Well, let me ask you this, because you were 0.01 of a second, correct me if I'm wrong, away from qualifying for the Olympics?
Yes, sir. That night before I went out and partied a little bit, which I shouldn't have, but, I'm a country boy.
Well, at least you're honest.
Yeah, I'm a country boy. I'm in Montreal. I'm pinching myself. Where I come from, and look where I'm at now. It was a dream.
Right.
And partying too late, and I had to get up at 9 o'clock that morning, and I came in fifth. But the guys that beat me, they all was on the mall relay. Johnny Lamb Jones, all those guys went on. And matter of fact, Johnny was a senior in high school. That got to my head. I let a guy in high school beat me from going to the Olympics. But I had fun with it, man. I really had fun. And almost 50 years later, guys still remember things I used to do. It really sent chills through me.
And that was my next question. What did he remember about you? Because he remembered during that interview I had with him, going, how does he remember all this?
I would come back sometimes. I would always come back, because I was writing in New Orleans, and come to the basketball game. He would be there, man, Herman, what you doing? You doing okay in school? You doing Yes, sir. I'm doing good, Coach. Okay, I asked so-and-so about you, and that really made me feel good. And I said, up until here recently, he probably forgot some of the players and PB coach, but he had a mind. And I always say like that, I wish I could live to be 95. I'm kicking for 67. But, man, we can sit here and talk all day about Coach Marcello. Everybody got a story.
But what did it do for you as not talking as a player, as a person, to have
man, Coach Marcello was a guy who was always neat and clean. I always called him Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson, he always had real neat. Never seen his eyes, like I said. But, yeah, stuff like that you pick up. Always, his office was real neat, humble, super humble. And like I said, if he seen you, even when you left South Terrebonne, he always wondered how you doing. He used to ask Clarence, man, how Herman, what Peg? Everybody called me Peg. How Peg doing? He doing okay. He married now, and kids. But, man, Coach Marcello was $1 in a million.
Yeah.
How he was made, I don't know. Who his parents was, I don't know. But he's a special person. You didn't make him like Coach Marcello. Never heard him raise his voice. Never one time in my life. But he meant business. When you see him on the football field,
he got his point across.
He had his point.
And I want to ask Clarence this, because Clarence, out of the whole panel here, I've been knowing you for a long time. Matter of fact, I got to tell this story to the audience, because when all my buddies went to see Clarence play when he was with the Colts and he was going to the Pro Bowl and everything else, I was way up there in the terrace. Before we could afford seats that went any lower. Me, Harry McCullough, I think David Fauke, Brian Molazon. And it was a raucous group, and I said, I'm going to holler at, on three, we got to holler at Clarence. So, hey, Clarence. So, I said 3, 2, 1, everybody. Hey, Clarence. Now, he's in the end zone getting ready to take the kickoff. He stops, he looks up at us, and he does one of these numbers to us. And we're going, now, what guy would sit there during the game and look up to see his home crowd up there, and there's Clarence. Yeah. Now, Clarence would do that.
You got to respect your home people, man.
But my point is, how did Buddy Marcello handle a guy like Clarence CNN Verdan?
It was different because Skippy set the tone, was quiet, and he meant business, and he was our leader, man. I mean, he was the guy that you wanted to emulate. You know, the relationship that him and Buddy had, man. It was special, man. We saw that, and everybody wanted to be that next guy. You know, I mean, anytime you get lunch brought to the school for you, you didn't. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry. He was special, man. You know, he's special. And, but you know, they had a very, very, man. I mean, it was a special. I swear, it should be a movie, man. For us, I'm serious. For me saying it, and I actually saw the relationship that he had. We played Solid Fush one year, the year that they won state championship.
Bobby Hebert.
Bobby Hebert, man, and they was beating us about 14 points, man. I was a sophomore, man, and I'm scared, man. They got people hollering and screaming, but Skippy just, I mean, him and Buddy was so paused. And they like, we know we're going to win this game. And I'm saying, man, just get out of the stadium, bro. Let's take our loss and get the hell out of here, bro. Get on Klondike Road and get back to South Carolina because it's about to get bad. And him and Skippy, I'll never forget, man. Him and Skippy was walking, pressing the sideline, and they talking. Every time boy got in the fourth quarter, he'd do another spectacular play. He'd do another spectacular play. But like I say, man, that relationship, man. It was so special. And you wanted to be that guy. You wanted to be Skippy and had that relationship. And he loved it all us, man. And like you say, man, once Skippy left, then myself and Tommy Boudreaux became that guy. Mm-hmm. And you try to hold up that pedal stone, like, hey, man, I got to respect Coach because he's going to give me that respect, and I got to bring it down to the younger guys. And he made men out of us, man. And it went on. You know, I was a different character. You know, then I did the little clowning, but you know, a little. Yeah, it was a little. You know what I'm saying? But he kept it. You know, we would sing on the bus. You know, because like I said, when Skippy was there, man, everybody was like, man, you was quiet. You concentrated on the game. Nobody wasn't no noise on the bus. And then when they left, it's like, all right, let's get a little free now. Bunny get a little old, you know, we're going to do a little. Jackson 5 was popular, you know. But, man, he supported me in the choir. I was in the chorus, and he supported me, man. You know, a few times I missed practice to go to LSU to sing for an ensemble or something. And, man, but when I came back, man, you know, I did what I had to do for him. And he made me the man that I am today as a football player when I went to USL. I mean, that work ethic carried over. You know.
When you started making it to the pro ranks,
yeah,
and then you
made it
to the Pro Bowl, yeah. And I'm not going to talk about the time you lost to Darryl Green in that Superstars match, but anyway, when you made it there,
but I'll tell you a crazy story. I came back for Livis.
Yeah,
Livis was playing South
Philip Livis,
and I heard about the little kid, man. So hey man, you got to see this kid. So I'm coming. We get to the state. Who I see? Coach Buddy Marcello. And we walking. How you doing, crazy man? Clarence, how you doing? He said, look. He said, man, this kid remind me so much of you. And as we talking, Livis was taking the open kickoff back against Ellerman. He said, that kid remind me of you, man. And like you say, bro, every time I came back, I always, you know, when you in college, you always wanted to come back to school, you know, because you made it to college, man. You know, I mean, I was right there in Lafayette, wasn't that far. And, man, you know, and he gave you that respect and, you know, told the kids, hey, man, you work hard, just where you're going to be. And so, like I said, I got much love for him. And, man, it just, words can't describe, man, you know, what he meant to me personally. You know, like I said, getting home we didn't have transportation, getting back down the bayou. I think they just started buses in Homer, bringing kids to Mechanicsville. If you didn't have a car, I mean, you know, you know, so, but he,
Skippy,
you know,
you must have had a nice car back then. That's all I can say.
But he made sure, you know, because when that many guys down the bayou played ball, and so he made sure, man, I was protecting. I got home, man, safely, bro, and so that I really respected him and Coach Taylor for that. You know,
all right, before I get to my final question, which will be a serious question, I just want to clear this up. I've been on the air almost 40 years. Of course, and you're younger than me, but for over half of those years, I've been hearing about, is Clarence faster than Troy? Is Troy faster than Clarence? Let's set the record straight. Now, look, you got to know I'm going to pick up this phone after, and I'm going to call Troy and ask him.
Not just him. Age-wise, I'm going to go by age-wise. See, I've been wanting to say this here. Age-wise, if you go to age-wise, I think I was faster than all of them, man. But, you know, but I give them their respect. You know, I mean, Britt, Herman, Melvin, Ricky, Rob, Skippy. I mean, these guys said, man, you wanted to be like them because they legacy lived on when we got there. You know, that's what you want to chase for, and we tried. You know, I mean, I wasn't in the air. I was in L.A. at the time. I used to get a lot of news clippings on my brother and Ricky and all of them, but I actually saw Skippy, man, and still today, man, I haven't seen a high school player, you know, perform like what he did, man. I mean, this is real talk. I'm not saying that, you know, and I tell it to anybody, man, he was special. He was special, man.
I always tell the story. I was 12 in the punt, pass, and kick. Skippy was 13, a little older. I am so glad I was in the year before class because I'd have never made it out of Homer.
Yeah. I never seen a guy kick a ball that far, and I tell you what, I wouldn't want for him to kick me back then. And I didn't want to be the guy to hold the kick, you know, because he had, you know, like I say, man, special guy, man, good person, great student. I mean, man, like I said, I wasn't in their era. But, you know, he was my role model.
St. Francis group, which I interviewed, and they know, they watching, they're going to be watching you. They were the slowest group of guys. And then Coach Marcello leaves St. Francis and goes to South Terrebonne and gets all these speeches. So he probably had to adopt his coaching style a little bit.
I'm going to tell you a story, Martin. I'm going to tell you, where I lived in Compton, Centennial High School was considered one of the top schools in the country. We had some guys come out of high school in Compton at the time, and I didn't know why the coaches always used to come to our house because they heard about South Terrebonne, and they wanted to recruit my brother. So he would come down, and we thought sure that he was going to stay and go to Centennial High School, and I don't know if Melvin, he talked to his guys and back home, and he's like, man, I can't do this. And that's when they wanted us that I don't know if they Bricknam knew, but his thing was to come and go to Centennial High School. And they stayed at our house, man. I didn't know, like you say, how, you know, I'm a young boy, man. Wasn't into track and field at that time, but I didn't realize how important and how special they were as I got older, the times they ran, and even though time still stood there when I was in high school. So y'all was before your time, man. I mean, and that's special.
I want y'all to really, go ahead, Herman.
Yeah, I don't want to talk too much.
True story. We get to South, we at Oakland, we would go practice at South Terrebonne every day. We get to South Terrebonne, Ricky, Melvin, myself. Coach Marcello said, I know y'all fast. True story. He said, let's run the 40. Okay. Pow, first leg, 4-3, 4-2. Oh, that ain't right. Look at Coach Buddy. No, his clock ain't right. Do it again. 4-2, 4-3. Man, where these guys come from? I don't know nothing about nothing. Man, nah, this is unbelievable. Sophomores, we did it. And Coach Marcello said, well, y'all gonna be special when track season comes. And we were.
It's incredible to have.
Put it in my hand.
One guy like that is a miracle. To have a whole relay team like that is unbelievable.
So special? This was crazy, man. And I could never figure this out. And this was ordained by God. The exact formula they had, we wound up having the same exact formula. Tommy Bujo was known as Ricky Brick.
Right.
I was my brother Herman. Peter Barker was Rob's first cousin, and Troy was Blanky's brother.
Right.
And it was scary, man. It's like we recreate now, and they used to tell us like, man, we came back as them, you know, and we broke a lot of they meet records, but we never broke the state record.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah, we never broke. I
So the
think
state record
kind of. I don't know, man. They had PE teachers was timing, bro. I don't know, dog. They little bit for the time. For a record to stand that long, but I saw the track meet on TV, and they had guys with the hand watches, man.
Right.
So
let me ask. So
a PE coach, a biology teacher.
So Herman, who still has a national record?
Sorry.
Who has a national record? Your group or their group?
Our group.
That's what I thought.
And the good thing about it, Morton, it's gonna be forever because the year after we graduated,
Meters.
it went to meters.
Yeah, meters.
So we forever.
No doubt.
You know, and Rick and I always talk about it. And
But the biology teacher was.
It doesn't matter.
Electronic time.
Well,
hey.
that year Rick was talking about the time we ran the same time that Centennial High School ran.
Hey, Clarence, I know you well enough to tell you this. You got to let it go sometimes.
You gotta let it go. You gotta let it go, man.
All right, let's start over here. We're gonna start with. I'm gonna start with Clarence. We're gonna move. Final question.
They might not get the mic.
I want from the heart. What Buddy Marcello meant to you all, and how much as a community. I mean, these eras that we're having with the Buddy Marcellos and the Gerald Alberts and all these people, we could go on and on. What do these eras mean? And now that we've lost Coach Marcello, how do you ever top that?
Buddy, I mean, he was before his time. He could have been in all these eras and he got the same respect because he was that type of man. And there's only few men that walk this earth you can say that about. I mean, even human beings. And he was one of those guys that I know, you know, in any era, he would have been respected the same way because that's how he was that type of man. You know, he was one of a kind, man. He was one of a kind. He wasn't a politician. He wasn't he didn't perceive as a spiritual thing to you. He wouldn't perceive as a politician, a disciplinary. He just was a man, and the way he came at you, you automatically gave him that respect back. And that's been till last Sunday, he been that same guy, man. So he could have been in any era, man, and he would got the same respect. You know, I know now you look at kids now and say, nah, but they would listen to Buddy because that's the way he presented himself. You know, and kids, that's what they want. You know, they react on what you give them. And that's how he was, man. He Class A guy, like I say, he's going to be truly missed, lived a hell of a life, man, a longevity life. And like I say, I wish I could just get to 60, man. You know, and I mean, the way this world going now. But again, man, you know, he was a very, as I know now, was a very instrumental part of my life, going to college and going into the pros, man, giving me that opportunity. Because I didn't have a scholarship also, and he convinced USL, from what I'm knowing now, putting this thing together, to give me that opportunity. And I took advantage of it. And yeah.
You sure did. Herman?
There's nothing I haven't said already about Coach Marcello. You know, he's one of a kind. He was disciplinary. I mean, like, he wasn't disciplinary, but he was the type of guy that you respected. You just respected Coach Marcello. It was something about him that's special. I don't know, look, the way he carried it. Well, the way he carried himself, very, very humble. And when he said something, you listen. He did not shout about it. It was one time, and you got it, and you went on.
Danny?
To go back and answer your question, and I was just thinking about it, you know, you think of guys like Coach Albert, which my wife used to talk about. She went to Vanderbilt. A Buddy Marcello, a Don Schwab. You know, are you going to get better than these guys? I don't think you're going to get better. They were guys that adapted to the times. They adapted to the kids they were coaching, and they put together a team. And that's what it's about. It's a team sport. You know, you go back and find Lou Holtz, Saban, all of these guys. Are you going to get better than them? I don't think. I think these are guys that put together a package that worked. Look at Saban. Saban was successful at LSU, successful at Alabama. He wasn't successful for pro football. But, you know, when you look at Buddy Marcello adapted. He left from St. Francis. You know, I hear all the slow people and this and that. Went over there to South Terrebonne. It's a whole different ball game. And then you try to, not only that, they were able to identify the strengths each player had. You know, I was moved my senior, matter of fact, I didn't play to my senior year because I broke my leg. But the funny thing about it, they were moving me from wing back to full back so I could block for Melvin, okay? And believe me, they didn't want me to run the ball, they wanted me to block, okay? And that show you my head, maybe that's what happened to me. But anyway, but these are guys that were able to adapt and utilize the strengths they had. And it's very impressive that he stayed the longevity for that long, you know, being that great of a coach. And he put together that team.
Skippy?
Well, you know, we spoke on that one-on-one program you and I had, and I said some things about what Coach did for me. And I'm going to repeat a little bit of it, if I may, for what he did for me and how much respect and love I have for Coach Marcello. Coach Marcello took a chance with me when I was at Oak Lawn again. I was in 9th grade when he created, opened up the doors for me to go to South Terrebonne in 9th grade. I was the first person to do that, player in Terrebonne Parish. I don't know how he did it. I was happy he did it because I was able to advance to another setting so I can, you know, be around him. But Coach, for me, man, he did. Words cannot. I mean, we talk about him and we saying a whole lot of good things about him and remembrance about him. But he will be missed, and you know, my condolence goes out to the family. You know, Danny and Sal. I know them personally. You know, and I'll get a chance to get with them and the Marcello family, man. I wish to have a speedy recovery from this, which is going to be hard to do because he's a you know, his legacy, man, still goes on.
He's a legend, yeah. No
Yeah,
doubt.
right.
Thank you, Skippy. Ricky?
One of the things I'll always remember about Coach Marcello was he was kind of he knew what we were going to do before we showed up for the game. All we had to do was go out there and execute. And always after the game, always saw him with his family. He was with Miss Marcella, very attractive lady, and his daughter Gina, a beautiful young lady. And he always had them around them, whether we won or lost. His demeanor was the same. He wanted to win all the games, obviously, but when we didn't, there was no punishment in the locker room or anything such as that. And I've gone to other places, even when I was at LSU, and I came across some of the assistant coaches that knew Coach Marcello by his reputation. Not that coached with him, but by his reputation, because he was a class act. While he coached, while he took care of baseball fields, everything he did it in such a manner that I would love to emulate, my boys to emulate the way he behaved and the kind of man he was.
Clarence, I think Coach Marcello, looking down, said, you know, Clarence has been talking all these years, but I want Clarence to lead us in a song on the way out of this South Terrebonne group. So I know, Clarence, you got a great voice. Lead us in a little tune for Coach Marcello.
It's spiritual one. He's in heaven, so I want to say, Jesus, you're the center of my joy. All that's good and perfect comes from you. You're the heart of my contentment, hope for all I do. Jesus, you're the center of my joy. Rest in peace, Coach.
All right. Guys, thank y'all so much. Appreciate y'all. And there you have it, the South Terrebonne group. I told you it'd be a little different than the St. Francis group, and certainly it was. And we thank you all for coming, and we appreciate it. And we'll take a short break. We'll be back with more Bayou Town. Don't go away.